Hello everybody and welcome back to Dollar Tree Dinners and welcome to Souptober Day 8. I definitely confused a few of you when I posted my Dollar Tree Halloween desserts video a few days ago. One thing I should have mentioned in the 7th day video when I talked about how this series has gone over a little bit longer than I expected it to, because I expected to have this done in the first 10 days of October, but of course that didn't happen, was that in order to get some Halloween content out, I might not be able to upload all 10 videos in consecutive order. So I apologize for not making that super clear. We are finishing off the last 3 days. Hopefully the next 3 days will all be Souptober videos. Fingers crossed. I have also been working behind the scenes on my 72-hour emergency food supply video. I've been testing out meals, testing out equipment. I have pages upon pages of research for that video, and I'm really putting a ton of time and thought into it as I make it. So with that being said, we are on Souptober Day 8. And technically I had 3 recipes left, but after 7 days of soups, the 3 that I had left didn't really seem that interesting to me. So I've re-upped the stack. One of the things I really like about it is kind of the surprise or mystery element. So now I have 10 more to pick from, and that will revitalize the surprise, at least for me. I like to have fun doing this too, so I thought that would make it more fun for me. Here's my 10 soups revitalized on day 8. I'm gonna give them a quick little shuffle, and then we're gonna go to a random number picker. And we're back at 1 through 10, so generate, and it picked number 5. So, here's my stack. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5 is Chili's chicken enchilada soup. How fun is that? I had actually picked out this recipe before I started Souptober, and then I changed my mind on it, and then I put it back in my stack later. So I'm really excited that this one got picked, because I did have a comment specifically asking me to do the Chili's chicken enchilada soup, which is why I got thinking about it and thought we might revisit it. This recipe is from a website that I actually pay to have access to. It's from Top Secret Recipes, which is a blog, but they charge like a membership fee to have access to the recipes on the vlog. And I think I pay like $2.99 a year or something like that. Like, it's a really small amount, but I get access to 8 recipes a month. So I saved this Chili's chicken enchilada soup, and now we get to try to make it. So this one calls for oil, chicken breast, onion, garlic, chicken broth, masa, water, enchilada sauce, velveeta cheese, salt, chili powder, cumin. And this is for garnish. You get shredded cheddar cheese, crumbled tortilla chips, salsa, or pico de gallo. So I do have some chicken breast in my freezer, but it is not thawed yet. Onion, as far as that goes, I do have a half an onion in my fridge. So I have a half an onion that I need to use up, so I might as well use that up today. Garlic, where's my garlic? There she is. I have been using this garlic like crazy, so I'm almost out of it. In place of the chicken broth, we're gonna do chicken bouillon powder. I did get a new container of this, so I'm no longer out of it. Masa, that's an interesting ingredient, and I don't think I have any. I'm pretty sure I don't. I might be able to get it at Dollar Tree, but if not, let's look up some masa substitutes. Masa is corn powder. So one of the substitutes for masa is tortilla chips, which I do actually have. So in the event that I can't find cheap masa, I'm just gonna crush up some tortilla chips and we're gonna use that instead. Enchilada sauce I do have, and I do still have some of my Food Lion cheesy melt, but I don't have 16 ounces. I only have about 8 ounces. Maybe I'll go to Dollar Tree and get some of their Velveeta cheese sauce packets. Salt, chili powder, cumin, I have all that. So as far as the ingredients I need to make this soup is chicken, which actually my chicken is frozen, but I do have some canned chicken. I have a 12-ounce can and a 10-ounce can, which together makes more than a pound. I could probably just use the 12-ounce can. I already have the onion, I have the garlic, I have the bouillon powder. We might just go to Dollar Tree and see about getting the masa. If not, I have tortilla chips. Water, enchilada sauce, Velveeta. I can also get Velveeta at Dollar General. I have the Dollar General app. Let me see how much their Velveeta is. My Dollar General used to sell the Velveeta packets for $1, but they stopped carrying them. So it's $5.50 for a 16-ounce loaf. Ooh, wait, hold on. That's got me thinking. I just Googled Velveeta and saw Velveeta mac and cheese, which, if you guys remember when I did my hotel cooking video, I bought this box of the premium shells and cheese from Walmart but I didn't want to just open up this little packet of cheese sauce. I used some of the noodles, but not the cheese sauce. So I bet if I combine this with the velveeta I already have, we can make the soup without having to buy anything from the store. Awesome. I'd say that's a pretty solid plan, and it means I don't have to buy anything at all to make this soup. I don't know why, but I feel like it's more fun to cook with substitutes than it is to follow a recipe as it's written. I am really excited about the prospect of using tortilla chips in place of masa. It says I need a cup of masa. So I think my best bet is going to be to blend these into really fine crumbs. I'm gonna stick these on a blender and we're just gonna see how that goes. All right, so here is the result of our blended tortilla chips. So just like when you're making graham cracker crumbs, now we have tortilla chip crumbs. It says I need a half cup of onion, which should be about what's left over in this half of an onion. All right, so let's just go through and give that a nice fine dice. The recipe does not call for this, but I have a couple of jalapenos in my fridge that are about to go bad, so I'm just gonna go and toss them in, and all that's gonna do is make the soup just a little bit spicier. So I'm gonna go ahead and just finely dice that jalapeno too. I have 2 of them. So let's go ahead and bust out our soup pot and get that preheating over medium high-ish. I'm gonna add a drizzle of oil in the bottom of the pot. The first step it says is to fry up the chicken, but I'm using pre-cooked canned chicken, so I don't need to do that. So since I'm not having to cook the chicken, I'm gonna go directly in with my jalapeno and onion. And also it says a clove of garlic, so I'll add some of my pre-minced, which like I said, I'm almost out of. That should be good. We'll let that saute up for a couple of minutes until everything is softened. And that's really only gonna take a minute or 2 because the next step is to go ahead and add in our broth. So I'm using 4 cups of water and 4 teaspoons of my chicken bouillon powder. Although I realized the other day that I've been using this stuff wrong. It says you're supposed to use 3/4 of a teaspoon per cup. So live and learn. I'm gonna continue using 1 teaspoon though, because I really like the flavor. So that's our onions, jalapeno, garlic, and chicken broth. Now it says we're supposed to mix our 1 cup of masa, or in my case, crushed tortilla chips, with 2 cups of water. And mix this well to combine. Now it says to add our rehydrated masa into our bowl, or into our soup pot. It also says to add an additional 1 cup of water. It says 1 cup of enchilada sauce. This is a 10-ounce can, so for all intents and purposes, I'm going to consider this 1 cup of enchilada sauce because I'm not going to store a small amount of enchilada sauce in my fridge. And it also says to add our cheese. So I am using the 1 packet of cheese from my boxed mac and cheese kit. And the rest of my Food Lion cheesy melt. We bought 32 ounces of cheesy melt to make the broccoli cheese soup. I used part of it for that. I used part of it for the cheeseburger soup. And now I'm finishing off the rest of it for enchilada soup. So that was a really versatile purchase that's come in handy during this soup series. So for our seasonings, I'm gonna do 1 teaspoon of chili powder and a ½ teaspoon of cumin. It also calls for a teaspoon of salt, but since I'm using chicken bouillon powder, since I'm using canned chicken, and since in place of the masa, I'm using salted tortilla chips, I'm not gonna add any salt at this point. At the end, when the soup is ready, I can always taste it for salt and add it then. And this is what I'm looking like in the pot currently. So I've got my big old hunk of cheese that's gonna melt down. Otherwise, it looks pretty good so far. So it says to shred up the chicken, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that because sometimes I do have issues with this chicken not like breaking down in things. And I do like to leave this undrained because this is just chicken, water, and salt. So the liquid that's sitting in is just chicken broth, and it really does add a lot of flavor, especially if you're making it into a soup. But feel free to drain it if you prefer. My chicken is nicely shredded. I'm gonna go ahead and dump that in the soup pot. And that's it for the ingredients. It says to bring this up to a boil and then let it simmer for 30 to 40 minutes until it's thickened. While I am waiting for my soup to simmer, I'm gonna take a couple of flour tortillas that I just had in my pantry. I almost never buy corn tortillas just because we really don't like corn tortillas. I love tortilla chips, but not corn tortillas. So I'm gonna take some flour tortillas, I'm gonna cut them into strips. I've done this before and it turns out really, really good. Then I'm gonna cut those strips into about 1-inch pieces. And you know, I'm using my least favorite, very finicky burner here, but I'm gonna heat up some vegetable oil, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. I also try to do this in a small pan so I can use less oil because oil can be expensive. And I'm gonna fry up these tortilla strips until they're nice and golden brown and crispy. I'm just gonna dump them all in there. And then I like to just kind of use a spatula and lightly just keep them moving so they fry really evenly. And this is only going to take about 3 to 5 minutes or so. So you can see that this happens really quickly. It's only been a couple minutes. Keep it moving, make sure it doesn't burn, toss it around. Get them really brown, but like evenly brown. But once they're fried, you can transfer them and let them drain on a paper towel. This is almost a little too fried, but I think I caught them just in time. I forgot to get the paper towel prepped before I got started. And this oil is very clean, as you can see. All we did was fry tortilla strips in it, so let it cool and continue to reuse it. And here is what our soup is looking like so far. It's been about 35 minutes, it's been simmering. And I have been stirring it occasionally just to make sure that nothing burns to the bottom or anything like that. So this is Souptober Day 8. We did a Chili's chicken enchilada soup, but a use what you've already got edition. So I was able to make this entire soup using only ingredients I already had on hand. I'm gonna try it as is, but I also want to give you some topping options. For the presentation, I am going to put a few tortilla strips on it, a little sprinkle of cilantro for some greenery, and a dollop of sour cream in the center. But I am gonna try the soup plain first. So I honestly don't remember why I disqualified this one as an original contender for the Souptober series. I think because of the Velveeta cheese, and I thought that people would have an issue with it, but since I've already used it in 2 other soups, got some steam floating up in front of me. I knew it was gonna be a little pricey side, and I thought it would be a bit of a controversial ingredient, but it's what's in the soup. But since I've done the broccoli cheese soup and the cheeseburger soup, and I already had the Velveeta in my fridge, I felt like it was good to add it back into the stack. Plus, I know that you guys are really accepting of Velveeta cheese, which makes me really happy because honestly, it is such a good ingredient. I am certainly not afraid to say that I love Velveeta cheese. I need to let this cool a minute because it is steaming. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it is hot. I also think I was a bit surprised that this doesn't really have any like corn or black beans or any of those things. It's really just chicken, enchilada sauce, and cheese, which I'm sure it's gonna be delicious. Let's give it a try. Still very hot. That is so good. I am so serious, that is comfort in a bowl. Cheesiness level, off the charts. I probably could have used half of the amount of cheese and it would still be really cheesy because this is rich. I did add some jalapeno to it, but it's still not like overly spicy. I think it's like the perfect amount of spice for me personally. But let's just talk about the texture. Because it's got masa in it, or in my case, crushed up tortilla chips, it is thick. It's not gritty at all, but it's quite lovely. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it really does taste like chicken enchiladas in a soup. That is so good. I don't even think it needs any toppings, but I could see how adding things like pico de gallo would really lighten it up a bit because it's quite heavy. I would also probably add corn and black beans, but that's just kind of the person that I am, is I love corn and black beans. I think that they're fantastic in just about anything. But I do also want to try the version that I added. I added some tortilla strips, some cilantro, and some sour cream to it. Forgot my bowl koozie, that's a little hot. Whew. That soup is hot. I just burned my lips. Cool. I love textural differences, but I really love temperature differences. Like, I love cold sour cream on a hot bowl of soup. I don't know what it is about it. It's so good. And then you add these little tortilla strips, which give it a nice like crunchy element. But what really sets it is that little bit of fresh cilantro. So pico de gallo, if you could add some of that, fantastic. As I was eating it, I was thinking to myself, like a little spritz of lime juice on top would be perfect. 10 out of 10. This one's going in my recipe book. It's one of those where I'm really sad I haven't tried it before today. But again, I don't order soups in restaurants, so I never would have known that this soup existed. But it is a fabulous, fabulous recipe, even with all of these substitutions that I made to be able to make it with ingredients I already had. So I'm gonna leave my version of the recipe in the comments down below in case you wanna recreate it at home. This one was so good, and I will be making this one again. So again, apologies for not being clear about the progression of Souptober, but hopefully we're gonna knock out these last few days. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you again soon for Souptober Day 9.